All right, brothers and sisters, thank you once again for joining me. As you know, we're going to be finishing up briefly this When the World Flatlines. I haven't forgot. I still will show everyone, um, probably at a later time. We'll see. Maybe if the Most High allows it, wills it, we'll do it tonight. Um, if not, it'll be at another time. But I told you I was going to share with you the bank runs that are happening in China. Okay, so um, remember everything. Oh, they're messing up my volume here. Messing up my volume. I cut it off every now and then. Everything is based off of Babylon. Okay, um, things are moving so quick. Like I said previously on numerous times. Um, like the Federal Reserve, brothers and sisters, already has come out publicly and said they're ready. They're ready. Once the dollar collapses, they're ready to implement worldwide blockchain, which was of course part of metaverse. And this they have connecting to underneath the skin for payments. Okay. So I got the abortion lessons ready. I got the days of the days of Noah ready with the incense, with the hair. A lot of people don't, our sisters out there don't even know that the extensions that they even put in their hair were made in Indian temples, sacrificed to their gods, and they used the incense in there, and then they bless it. They bring it to the altar of their gods right there, and then they ship it off to Jamaica, from India to Jamaica, and from Jamaica to the U.S. I mean, we have um, so much going on. That's been going on for years. Um, we have, I mean, we have the CERN. We have anyone see that NATO and all the territories in Europe, they're preparing for this war, but they're not telling anyone else. I told you guys that this year, I read that article that Putin said they were going to attack Europe this year by the fall or by the end of 2022. Now, hey, it's up to every to get themselves together. All right. I want to read this one scripture first, starting with Mark chapter 13. It's a little off, but it goes right with what we're going into. Okay. So it reads, and Yeshua answering them began to say, take heed lest any man deceive you. And I always start with this, even my first lesson on YouTube. For those of you who've watched my YouTube, my first lesson was on discernment 101. because I want everyone to understand that I'm not just some individual coming to make a lesson for likes, coming to make a lesson for a large gathering. I'm here to make the lessons so brothers and sisters are edified. Because in the Bible, it gets in the book of Malachi, it mentions the books of remembrance. And in the books of remembrance, it coincides right to the Bible. I've read all except for one. There's five, so all except for two. I've read three of them. And there's something called the Great Tribulation, which we're facing now. And as this Great Tribulation is occurring, there's something called a Great Gathering. But in the Great Gathering, everyone must know their fruits. Everyone must know their talents. Everyone must know their purpose. And this is one of the reasons why last night or yesterday I read that scripture, awake, O sword, Christ will smite the shepherds and scatter the sheep. Simply because these churches, these congregations have held congregants and members in their churches all these years and never told them that you are not the same as the person sitting next to you. They've never told them that God has a purpose as to why you're alive. And there's no need to be jealous because what you can do, God made you to do. Because if He wanted me to do that, He would have let me do it. Therefore, what you do is what you do, and what I can do is what I can do. And that would have stopped all the jealousy, showing people that they were unique. But all in all, I do these things, and I gave that first lesson to make sure that people know where I'm coming from. I'm teaching you all how to discern. Because in these times, discernment is the most important thing. It literally is. And if you don't know how to use discernment, you are going to fall out here. That's just how it's going to be. Verse 6 reads, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, we see it. Kingdom against kingdom, we see it. There shall be earthquakes in diverse places, we see it. What was it? Just two major earthquakes happened in South Carolina last night. We see it. There shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings. You notice how Christ said all the things that we think. Famine comes with inflation, interest rate, right? Because how do you get famine? The food is there, just can't afford it. Christ said these were just the beginning. Like, it's child's play. Don't get too stressed out about it. I told you. That's what Christ is saying. Don't get too stressed about it, because what comes after that is even worse. Verse 9 reads, but take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to the councils, and in the synagogues ye shall be beaten, and ye shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must first be published among all nations. Now, a lot of people, they stumbled at this scripture, verse 10. Oh, the gospel's not in the jungles of Amazon. You need to stop with that. You know why? Because the indigenous people understood who they were long before the people in the developed countries. Okay, so they understood. And when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye, for it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Ghost. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and the children rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. Brothers and sisters, this is one of the reasons why I say, I'm not like that elder who was sitting there lying to people. Most of the deaths is going to come from your own household. They're going to come from people killing one another. And why would people be amongst one another? One, because they're family. Two, because they would hope to trust them. Three, because times are so hard that everyone's going to put in all their money together and say, we can't do nothing without everyone. But just because they're going into that survival mode doesn't mean they're surviving for Christ. And so when they get an individual from their family who's in the truth into their home, they will betray them. Mark my words, because no, don't mark my words, mark Christ's words. And hold that thought. Hold that thought, okay? Because I do need to show y'all something. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up here. Okay. Let's willing. If I could pull it up, see what we can do. Let me see. 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 Sorry. Now, check this out. Usually I don't put on my Instagram, but can't nobody see nothing. So check this out. 77-year-old woman in San Jose is arrested for killing what? Her husband, 77 years old. That's someone's great grandma, 77 years old. And Christ said, what? Of your own household, they should put you to death. That's what Christ said. Hold on now. And if it's not of your own household, if it's not of your own household, then it's going to be people like this taking advantage of the weak.
Again, one of our vulnerable citizens in our community.
The unthinkable crime happening in what should be a safe space.
A suspect broke into our victim's home. She's 78 years old. She confronted him. He physically assaulted her and later sexually assaulted her.
This is an atrocious crime. It is unacceptable. We will not tolerate it.
Take a good look. The suspect captured on surveillance.
We do have a picture of him.
We are actively.
So if it's not your own immediate family, it will be the people who are of your own nation. Even Christ said this in the book of John. He said, you'll never be loved amongst your own nation in the truth. That's what he said. What happened was, if you don't understand that video, that man went and broke into a 78-year-old woman's home and raped her. 78. Yes, rape is bad, but 78. And I'm sharing this because we are today on the topic of housing. So when everything goes bad, brothers and sisters, and everyone starts to get placed in homes together and put all their heads together and their money, you're going to see a lot of murders and homicides in these homes. Mark my words. Mark my words. Why? Even during the pandemic, we saw and we heard reports of there being triple suicides, right? You know, one the father or the mother would kill, two of her children, would kill her husband and then kill herself, or vice versa. You're going to see these things. Question is, would you listen to Christ if he told you what to watch for? Would you listen? As hard as it sounds and as hard as it seems, the goal is to endure until the end. The goal is to endure until the end. And then, remember I told you about what? I told you about the immigration.
And we have hundreds of migrants just running
I
in.
told you.
In Yuma, Arizona, hundreds and hundreds of migrants from
I
countries like
told
India,
you.
Cuba, Venezuela, and more cross
They
illegally
coming
in the
to
middle
kill.
of the night, overwhelming Border Patrol agents in this sector.
Now-
A guide that works with cartels and human smugglers on the Los
I'm gonna
Algodones
make
side
this.
agreed.
Take a look at this. And what's happening here is these individuals are coming from Cuba, Colombia, India, Haiti, all over. Okay. Now, once again, I may not be the smartest person, but I do know that if I'm going to flee somewhere, I'm going to make sure that place is safe. So you mean to tell me all these people, they're fleeing here, yet they know all the people can't afford nothing? Yet people are being put out of their homes? Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, it's about to get dangerous. It's, it's about to get dangerous. Okay? Now, let's rewind it real quick. I'm not going to play this whole thing. Out of this whole group, I only saw maybe 2 children. Look, look, I don't see not one child. Remember, they put the kids in the cages, right? So they letting these grown men, they letting grown criminals, and a lot. Hey, anyone who will watch this, without the truth, they be like, "Oh, you sound like a Trump supporter." I'm not saying I'm not supporting any political side or arena. What I'm saying is look at the facts. They want to talk about fact checking? I seen one child in this whole video. Look at it. These are all men, except for that this one child here. The rest is all men. few women. Where are the children at? These are grown men. Oh, there's an infant. That's two. What? Where they at? Look at this. Okay, three, four. These are all men. Five. So it's about to get bad. They're having immigration, and then the homes are about to explode into homelessness. We're going to meet a clash. One bad thing and one bad thing, right? One bad thing from another. So Christ said this. Be careful. Verse 13 reads, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. And I'm telling you this. Why? Why, Minister Yeshua? Proverbs 22, verse 3 reads, a prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself. But the simple, the docile, the special, the mentally challenged, they pass it on and they are punished. Oh, you serve God too much. Oh, you crazy. Let them pass it on. Because, brothers and sisters, when this happens, when this crash happens, when all these moratoriums stop in August for Babylon, you're gonna see people say, "Hey, remember me? You know, we was in school together," or you know, "Hey, you know, it's been a long time. You know, how you been? You know, I see you've been on your game. You know." No, no, you are not going to drag me into your punishment. I followed what the Most High said. I put the truth out there. No one listened. Now get punished. We are not a rebound here. Okay? You know, back in the day, they used to say people had like a rebound person to date or something like that, right? Even though that's a bad term, think about it, right? Christ is not a rebound. You can't just, live your life and then things bad. Oh, well, man, I lost my home, I lost my car, I lost my job. Well, no greater time than to serve the Most High now. You keep that same energy, okay? Just like you forgot who I was, and just like you forgot who all the people who was telling the truth was, and you called us crazy, when you're homeless and you looking crazy, and I'm looking nice and warm and toasty with the comfort of the Most High because we listened, keep that same mindset that we're crazy. Keep it. Now, let me see if I get the scripture real quick. I, uh, since we rolling, since we rolling, okay, let me just go on and pull it out because give me 1 second. Oh, And I'll take it to John chapter 10. John chapter 10. John chapter 10. One more. John chapter 10. We'll start with, check this out. And they call me crazy because John chapter 10 and 27 says, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So that voice that you was initially hearing, wake up and come into the truth. If you ignored it, you was ignoring Christ. You was ignoring Christ. I'm not gonna suffer because I heard the great shepherd's voice and I listened. And then on top of that, bringing it to Luke chapter 4, and then this will get me, right? Every single Christian out there, they deserve every single judgment they're getting, that they're about to get. Why do I say that? Oh, excuse me, Luke 6. Apologize. Luke chapter 6. Look at what Christ said. Christ said, 6 verse 24. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. So if you got everything you want, enjoy it. That's why they want things to go back to normal. Because they losing. They ain't telling you, but they losing. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. Hey, there's a time and place for everything. I'm sipping my coffee right now. There's a time and place for everything. Ecclesiastes 3. And I'm sitting back in comfort right now. You know why? Not comfort in location, or not comfort in a home or something like that, but comfort in spirit. Because I know that I wasn't laughing before, but I will be now when everything goes down and all the people who laughed at me and called me crazy, all the people who said, how can you have a degree and be homeless? What's going on? That couldn't have been me. How you got the GI Bill and you ain't got no money? Couldn't have been me. Yeah, I remember all those critics. I remember sitting there and say, hey, family, hey, went to a family member's home, some homeless. Say, hey, and this is why I promised myself never would I ask a homeless person, or excuse me, never would I ask a family member for help ever again in my life. I wouldn't ask them for the grain of rice, one. Because when I was homeless, a family member, they said to me, hey, you can stay here. I just need $500. I looked at them and said, I'm homeless. I'm sleeping in my car. Well, you know, $500. Hey, man, we just gotta get. I left immediately. and said nothing. No, I didn't say bye. I didn't say thank you, because when you say thank you, it's because someone has done something good. And then I remember sleeping in Salvation Army homeless shelter. And I called my father and I said, hey, you know, you mind sparing about 50, 75 bucks? I'm homeless, you know, my children were in a family homeless shelter. Oh, you know, I've been there before, but let me know how that goes. And, you know, when you get, you know, I'll see what I can do. Now look at my father. Hey, you reap what you sow. I don't wish nothing bad upon anyone. But you see what happens when you do evil to others? It finds a way to come back. And I said this in a lesson before. I said, all the evil parents, they're going to suffer. You know why? Because you treated your children so badly. Why would they ever come and see you? Vice versa, children, if you treated your parents so badly, why would they ever help you? Oh, it's going to get real. And then, verse 26 reads, woe unto you, when all men shall speak well of you, all Christians and all these churches, all Israelites and all these congregations. Do you not see what Christ said? When you got a massive amount of followers, he's calling you a false prophet. When people speak well of you, because they can't. You, hey, I don't hear me out. You're not going to get a mansion and private jets with people speaking bad about you, right? No, no. You're not gonna get a lot of likes and views on YouTube with people speaking bad about you, are you? No. You're gonna get it when people are speaking well. And Christ said, that's a sign. When everyone likes them, run. When everyone cleaves to them, run. When they got a lot of views, run. When they got a lot of followers, run. And what does Satan do? Satan got everyone in this generation attached to what? Likes and followers and views, right? You won't give a time of day for a video that had 20 views, but let it be 3,000 or 3 million. You're going to sit and critique that video, aren't you? That's why a lot of Christians ain't going to make this. They're not going to make this. But for the mercy of the Most High, He is loving kindness. He said, I'm going to smite the shepherd and scatter the sheep. That's going to be the hardest part. Some people ain't going to make it. They're not. And so, how does this all tie into housing? You're going to have like minded people, right? You're going to have like minded people. Let's get that scripture in Corinthians. To be yoked, right? Equally yoked. Because 2 Corinthians right here, 6 and 14 says, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. That means if I know my family members had no interest in serving the Most High before their mortgage and their rent rates went up, we still not cool after they go up. You understand me? We not playing Bobo the Fool. Christ said, for what? Paul said, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness. Oh, all of a sudden you want to flip righteous now? You know they did the same thing with Noah, right? Banging outside the boat, right? Brothers and sisters, it's going to be hard for some people because you're going to have to stand your ground. Say, hey, you saw the change in me. I should have been changed enough for you to ask questions. Come to Christ. Some people will be given mercy, some not. Verse 15 reads, and what concord hath Christ with Belial? Belial is Satan. Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? An infidel, you hear this term usually used by Muslims, but an infidel is a non-believer. No, we can't kick it. We not cool. Oh, just because you woke doesn't mean you follow Christ. Those, in fact, those are the number one people I don't want to be associated with the woke community. They be like, oh, this woke, that's woke. You so woke. Why can't you see that these are the times of Christ's return? Why can't you see that what you thought was getting normal was never going to go back? Why can't you see that if you so woke? If you so woke, how come you can't see the trap behind stimulus checks? Huh? If you so woke, right? This is a gimmick. And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? Now, idols, okay, idolatry, worship, okay. Now, many people think this is not just, okay, images, okay. This is a lot of things, okay. So, idolatry also means falsehood. And brothers and sisters, you could just go into it on your own and look deep into it. You'll see what it means. You'll see. All those now idolatry. No, you notice how all the Judah women talk about the stones and all your energy is off. That's idolatry too. Was it who did the stones and the incense? Um, I think it was Lamech and his wife, and it was also Jezebel, if I'm not mistaken. And all of Solomon's wives used to do incense and that stone and energy stuff. Go on now. Hey, at this point, people gotta be thinking like, hey, if I can see that this is occurring amongst the elite, me one may want to stay away from that. Okay. Verse 17 reads, wherefore come out from among them. So get a home together? No. Share some land together? No. Put your finances together and get a home? No. You silly goose. Because if you do, you're gonna die. Be ye separate, and saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. Now, no, it's not over. I have a precept. Because some people say, give me precepts. In in Ecclesiasticus, verse chapter 13, and I love this one. You know why? When I read this, I think of my wife, because my wife, she go hard. She will say this in a heartbeat. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 13 and 15. Every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor. All flesh consorteth according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. So she says to me, babe, it's okay if no one listens to you. They're going to go to their liking. They're going to cleave to whatever they want to go to. If they can't see that you're reading the word of the Most High, let them go. It's okay. Why? Verse 17, what fellowship hath a wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly. What I need to be sitting amongst you for? I don't got nothing to prove to anyone. The only one I got to prove it to is the Most High, considering that I'm a minister. Now, if you're not a minister, because everyone has levels in the body of Christ, then you do got to prove. That's true. But all in all, what fellowship hath the wolf with the lamb? Would you see them sitting together? Would you see a wolf sleeping next to a lamb? Verse 18, what agreement is there between the hyena and a dog? Think about it. And what peace between the rich and the poor? So by you, for example, let's say if the Most High gives you a home, right? And you know someone who just lost their home due to all of this stuff, come what, September, October, August, and they're poor now, and they come to you. So from them, it looks like, from their point of view, it looks like you're rich and they're poor. But to our point in view, brothers and sisters, never be carnal. Don't look at this as rich and poor. Look at this as spiritual versus carnal. Those who are still in homes with the Most High have stuck to Him spiritually. Those who will be affected by this highly will be still in the carnal. So why would I get a home with someone who's carnal and not spiritual? You see what I'm saying? We're not going to mix. We eventually going to fight. We eventually going to bump and rub against each other like friction, and something bad is bound to happen. It reads, as the wild ass, which is a donkey, is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. What do you see now? Right? Those interest rates, it's ready to gobble gobble, ain't it? Okay. As the proud hate humility, so doeth the rich abhor the poor. And I'm not rich. If it be the Most High's will, I could, move around and be a pilgrim. But I will tell you this: I abhor people with a poor spirit. That's true. I abhor people who are just so prideful in carnality, being carnal. I abhor those people. I do. Because God said what? Hate evil and love good. It's in Malachi or Malachi. It said hate evil and love good. So you and I, we have the obligation. Yeah, I can hate pride because pride is evil. I can hate it. And just like I hate when people use Christ as a rebound, I hate it If it was up to me, I be telling people, if it was up to me, boy, I'm telling you, I don't know. Most High, He's wonderful. Let's just say His mercy is great because me, I feel like if people all over the world, if they wasn't serving the Most High, and I said it, and what was that the last congregants that came all 40, 50 plus of them, and I said one thing and it triggered them all because they was all family. And I said, if you got into a relationship during the lockdown, I don't trust you. I said what I said. If you got a girlfriend or boyfriend or engaged during the lockdown, I don't trust you. I don't trust them. I don't trust you. And then y'all came into the truth together. I don't trust you, your mama, your daddy, and whoever else supported y'all being together and coming into the truth because someone playing games here. Y'all didn't come into the truth because you love the Most High. You came into the truth because you were scared. You were so scared of the lockdowns. You were so scared of losing your job. You didn't come into the truth for the Most High. So, yeah, I hate people like that with a passion. Like it burns fuel in me every day. You see a lot of people like that in the truth nowadays with the Israelite communities as well. Hey, just letting you know. So, once again, Christ said, separate yourself. Be don't be unequally yoked. Brothers and sisters, when things get bad, and let's say you're in the home with these people, what do you think will happen? He said, those of your own household will be your foes. A foe is a literal enemy. Like they want you dead, like they despise you. They can't stand you. Okay? And I'm only doing this to bring it down here. Look at that. An enemy. A foe is an enemy, one who entertains personal enmity, hatred, grudge, or malice against another. An enemy in war is a foe. And for the simple fact that it says one of a nation at war with another, whether he entertains enmity against the opposing nation or not, an adversary. For the simple fact that it says a foe will entertain you until they see need to strike. That sounds like a family member. Look. An opponent, an enemy who opposes anything in principle, an ill wisher, as a foe to religion. The Bible is our principle. The Bible is the structure, what the people of the world would call religion. If you're not down with it, best believe I don't want you around. It's simple. I hope that, hey, now for some people, like for example, right? If someone ever came to me and said, yeah, when all these things happen, oh yeah, I've been serving Christ for so long, and I love him, and I'll be like, all right, scripture check. Name me 5 scriptures. Most Christians, and don't give me, for he loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Don't give me that one. Okay. Don't tell me that he died for your sins. Don't give me that scripture either. Don't give me the the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want scripture and Psalms. Don't give me the basic 101 Christian. No, you're gonna have to prove yourself. And it ain't just me either. There's other brothers and sisters, mostly brothers, because we're the teachers and leaders. There's other brothers out there getting their standard ready. Just like when someone officially commits to my congregation, they get a survey. That's right. They get a survey. And I ask them some serious questions. How long you been in? What's your favorite scripture? Who you want to be like? Who do you see yourself like? What are the changes? Have you seen any changes? Why aren't you making changes? What took you so long to make them change? Oh yeah, I dig into that soul. Because the scripture says what? Beloved, try every spirit. That's what it tells us. Try every spirit. But this is the spirit that we all must be what? We all must be careful. The spirit of foes. And as y'all know, brothers and sisters, CERN, now, let me see if I could find something for y'all. Okay. As you know, CERN is that nuclear reactor. Okay. For the, what was it? It's the nuclear reactor to mix up the atomic the atoms and create antimatter and black matter. Okay, it's also has the ability to remove the firmament of protection from the world. This will also contribute to blocking out the sun. But as CERN is spiraled into, how many of y'all seen it? 1.6, 2.6, 3.6, 4.6, 5.6. It's just 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Keep going. That's what it is. When this goes off, and it shall again, there's portals all over the world. I'm not going to tell y'all about the talking trees either, or the walking trees, but that's for another time. Hey, this is going to pull out, and I remember watching this years ago, and they said what dark matter is. Everyone has dark matter. Did you know that? I didn't know that until then. Everyone has dark matter. You know what dark matter is? Dark matter is sin. It's sin. This is why Christ said, be the light. Because whatever darkness is in you, when they turn this on, it's going to consume your thoughts to the point that you act them out. Oh, it's about to get wicked. I told you, it's about to get wicked. Antimatter and dark energy, dark matter. Yeah, it pulls that spiritual entity into the physical. So, what was trapped inside your body by discipline and constraint of you wanting to be a better person, well, the game is on now where unless you're in Christ, it's going to come out. And you won't be able to hide your darkness. Oh, it's going to get evil. And think about this. Where I play these videos, you want to be sitting in houses and living with people who don't serve Christ or who's iffy and and all of a sudden want to love you and love the Most High. You want to be sitting with people like that where this thing goes off? I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine. All right? Because when these things go down, what? Mayhem everywhere. Now, there's two ways that this is going to go down, okay? It's either one or the other, or it's both. Now, a lot of people have been talking about, oh, the mark of the beast. Yes, it's here. It's been here. COVID was just a segue into it, okay? How many people heard the talks about the World Health Organization talking about this new pandemic that's coming? It's called Margus, I think it is, or Margu. Oh, I got that for y'all at another time. It wasn't monkeypox. Monkeypox didn't scare nobody. But this one, this one said it turned your eyes pitch red. This one says one of the symptoms of this is to eat flesh. I do the what's that NBA player name? Kawhi. They're laughing at it. I'm laughing at these people. They up there protesting all kinds of stuff. They got something ready. They got something ready. Remember, and no one wanted to believe when I read this in Zechariah 14. All right. Look what it says in Zechariah 14, verse 11. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more under destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. This is not Jerusalem. You would have to go into Isaiah and see that Jerusalem is the wilderness. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. That means all the righteous. And their flesh, watch this. What does this sound like to you? Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. What does that sound like? I told you Walking Dead was just grooming you, getting you ready. Because if you ain't got no eyes in your socket and your tongue doesn't exist anymore, and your flesh is going to rot, what does that sound like? Maybe I'm just overboard. You know, they say the Bible lies. But anyway, and it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold everyone on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. Now, when it says hand rise up against neighbor, this is why I said, oh, that bartering trick ain't gonna do nobody no good. They coming to kill. Why? Because the Most High said, and Judah, as our people, also shall fight at Jerusalem, which is the wilderness. And the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse and of the mule and of the camel and of the ass and all the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the feast of tabernacles. And that's Christ. So, yeah, we're going to get to a point where everyone hates each other. We're going to get to a point where we got to get physical. This is why, Minister Yeshua, I know that other people, other ministers, other elders told you, right? They told you it was okay. Now, let me show y'all something real quick. Now, for those of you who say, "Oh, we gotta get guns and we gotta do this, right? We gotta protect each other. We gotta protect our family, right? Of course, we gotta protect our family. We love our family, but what happens? And how do you protect your family against this? How do you protect your family against this? You tell me. How you protect them? What a gun gonna do to that? Or wait. Let me see. I got the other video. Most High willing. Thought I saved it. Give me a second. What what is guns gonna do? Now watch this. You got and all them people who pro-black, right? Watch this. You gonna see invaders coming from the US and they're gonna look black just like you and me. And then you're gonna realize, wait, they not here for me. They here to kill you. They showing off for the Russian army because the countries are siding and joining each other for World War III. What are you doing? It's Russia. Angola came to Russia and pledged allegiance to Putin to fight with them in war. What do you focus on? I only just this is so bad to say that I just want the righteous with me. Is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, y'all, right? Most High, I'm looking for this video. I want to share it with y'all so badly. Uh, wait. Oh, boy. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Is this it? Oh, no. to be. Uh, let me see. And I showed my wife this. Are you sitting up there thinking that everything is okay? You gonna be coming home, right? Letting people in your home and see this. Around if you want. Not me. You won't know if you don't believe in the Most High. You're not coming in my home. I don't care if you're a child. I don't care if you're elderly. If you're not downright, hardcore, serving the Most High, hey, it's not happening. It's not happening. Look at this. You thought it was a game. And they up there like, what? So why you got this going on? Oh yeah, this was before CERN. It's happening. You got this going on. Nah, buddy. You gotta get spiritually checked. You guys to get spiritually checked. And then with all the soldiers lining up, with with everything going on. Let me see. I need to get this for y'all. Look at this. Look what they're training for, and our people are focused on TikTok. Look at this. Look at this. Look. They preparing. Okay, wait. They preparing.
This is a 6
You
hour.
thought it was a video game.
This is the dangerous end, just like in the video game. That end goes that way. This is the trigger. You understand the concept, right? There you go. Now take your time. Oh, I guess you do know how to
They preparing for all types of war to kill you, me, and everybody. Well, why aren't you paying attention? Let me see. I'm looking for that one video. Let me see. No. That one video I wanted to share with y'all. You know what? Let me look up. Let me check this one brother out. Wait, is this it? No. This is the same man, but at a different range. Right, give me a second. I think I know the brother who has another one of these. Thank you for y'all patience. Let's see, they got it. see. Let me see. Come, let me see if this is it.
Broken in pieces, her idols are found.
Um, no, give me a quick second, y'all. Thank you so much for your patience. Oh, wait a minute. They deleted it. They're deleting my. Oh, man. Let me see. One more time. That's why I can't find it. I'm telling you, the censorship is bonkers. Let me check one more time, y'all. I really want to get this for y'all. If not, I'll try and pull it up on YouTube. This was bonkers. Let me see. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Does it feel
Give me a second.
To the builder.
Oh, no, that's not it. And no one got this. I feel like as soon as I take off the clip, it'll be right there. But it's all right. Let me look and do it on YouTube. Okay, don't worry. All right, let's do this on YouTube. Sorry about that.
One simple but brilliant trick to cool your home in 90 seconds. Tired of hot and stuffy?
Check this out. Here, our people were all the wrong thing. Check it out. Check out the test. What can you do against it? What can you do? Can you say Terminator? know who to shoot, who not to shoot. Are you ready for this? You're not ready for this. Preparing for everything. Oh, that's the same thing I just showed y'all, right? It's all a part of the same thing, brothers and sisters. Can run too. That's not even running, that's gliding. I want people who is ready. I want people who is ready to give up their life to Christ, no matter the circumstances. Because with all the people buying guns, you ain't gonna shoot those down. You ain't gonna survive. I don't care how much tactics you've learned. There ain't enough grenades, RPGs, claymores, there ain't enough napalm in the world to destroy these things. They've created their iRobot. They've created their Terminator. They've created it. And while everyone thought it was a movie, it was like, you know what, since everyone's just so stupid, let's just put it right under their nose. Hey, because when all this is said and done, brothers and sisters, this is where it's going. This is where it's going. And I say that to say this. When all this goes down, make sure you know who you got in your home. That's all me gonna say. Because, hey, it could be the end of you. Or they can be an asset to the body of Christ. First video.
We obviously didn't learn from our past mistakes, and today we're seeing another massive housing bubble, even larger than the previous one, falling apart right before our eyes again. The Federal Reserve has created the perfect conditions for another financial disaster to occur, and the next housing market crash is about to wipe out millions of American families whose main asset is their home, while the economy faces a dramatic slowdown and chaos takes over Wall Street. Even after economists, real estate experts, and market strategists relentlessly warned that this bubble would inevitably burst, authorities just continue to fuel its growth month after month and year after year. But a reckoning has come, and the crash we're going to witness will be absolutely breathtaking. Home sales have been steadily falling for the past 6 months, and prices just started dropping like a rock. Another catastrophe is imminent, and in today's video, we're going to expose just how dire things have become in the market and how rapidly the housing bubble is collapsing. But before moving on, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future videos. Now, about a month ago, when mortgage rates surpassed the 5% mark for the first time in nearly a decade, real estate agents and industry executives shared a series of devastating anecdotes validating the worst fears of millions of Americans. The U.S. housing market was imploding again. Since then, the downfall has gained speed, with subsequent observations confirming that property values were sharply dropping, a dire outlook for the most popular asset class among middle-class families. Last week, however, things have gone from worse to catastrophic as 30-year mortgage rates surged at the fastest pace ever recorded, hitting 6.28%, a rate last seen just before the last housing bubble burst. As Zero Hedge analysts recently highlighted, the latest rate hike sent the average mortgage payment on a median mortgage up by almost 800% in just the past 6 months, resulting in the most unaffordable housing prices in the entire history of America. On top of that, new home sales have plunged at the fastest pace since the peak of the health crisis, right after facing the longest negative streak since 2010. Right now, home buyer sentiment is at the lowest level in generations, and conditions continue to deteriorate with each passing week. According to the latest housing market summary released by real estate brokerage Redfin, things are not pretty at all. The report shows that after a period of unprecedented gains for home prices and a uniformly seller's market, conditions have drastically flipped. And now, real estate agents are seeing the highest share of sellers on record dropping their list price as mortgage rates shoot up to levels not seen since 2008, shrinking the pool of potential home buyers. In some of the most popular markets, including Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, metro areas, the share of new construction offerings with price cuts has quadrupled from a year earlier, Redfin reported. They tripled in Phoenix and doubled in the Tampa, Florida region. We are in a different place. The builder can no longer name a price and say, pay it or move along, outlined Nicole Freer, a Houston agent who slashed prices by $2,000 to $20,000 on homes she lists for builders. They're telling us our managers have allowed us to negotiate again. Despite the evident cracks appearing everywhere in the housing market, prices are still the most expensive they've ever been. Some markets are so overvalued that prices will have to be revised down by up to 90%. Today, a typical buyer with a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is looking at a monthly payment of $2,514, up from $1,692 a year ago. Every 0.5% rate hike excludes approximately 10 million more Americans from the market. So those who are still trying to close a deal are facing way less competition from other buyers. In 2021, homes would typically sit on the market for 7 days. Now they're going under contract after an average of 4 weeks. The housing market is experiencing a hangover as it comes down from an unsustainable high, explained Redfin Deputy Chief Economist Taylor Ma. Housing demand has already cooled significantly to the point that the industry has begun facing layoffs. This week's rate hikes will further stretch home buyers' budgets to the point that many more may be priced out. While a lot of home sellers are already dropping their prices, more homeowners will likely decide to stay put now that the mortgage rate on a new home is significantly higher than their current one. If it weren't for the surge in mortgage rates, the housing market would still be in a boom right now, added Redfin Bay Area real estate agent James Capello, saying demand from home buyers was still extremely high as recently as February, but rates are making it really tough, going from 3% to nearly 6% almost instantly scared a lot of people out of the market, he noted. In a separate report, Redfin revealed that competition for existing inventory is collapsing, with 56% of home offers written by Redfin agents facing competition on a seasonally adjusted basis in May, the lowest level since February 2021. That's significantly down from a revised rate of 62% 1 month earlier and a pandemic peak of 72% 1 year earlier. This is the fourth consecutive monthly decline. At the same time last year, the typical home in a bidding war received 7.4 offers. Now it receives less than 5. In some areas, the decline has been even steeper. Homes are now getting 1 to 3 offers compared with 5 to 10 2 months ago and as many as 25 to 36 months ago, exposed Jennifer Bowers, a Redfin real estate agent in Nashville. Offers also aren't coming in as high above the list price as before. I recently listed a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home for $399,900. It ended up going under the contract for $12,000 above the list price with an inspection, whereas 3 months ago, the buyer probably would have paid $60,000 over asking and would waive the inspection, Bowers continued. In face of all that, it's not surprising that Bloomberg analysts have written that the fastest rising mortgage rates in decades have cooled demand so abruptly in many hotspots that it's taken the industry by surprise. Builders that were artificially limiting sales and auctioning houses to the highest bidder now have inventory to move. Bloomberg also noted that home loan costs have hit record-breaking levels, straining buyers whose affordability limits were already being tested by soaring inflation. As housing starts continuously fall and home builder sentiment craters, brokerage firms have announced a new wave of layoffs. On Friday, financial markets started to react to the housing bubble's impending burst, and share prices for builders
Remember, I kept
have plummeted
saying,
with the super composite.
I know I'm not talking much in this one because I want y'all to see the other ones. But remember, I kept saying that if you're looking, brothers and sisters, and you see the pattern, the housing bubble is connected to the employment. So when this housing crashes, it's going to force a lot of people out. And apartment rates will go up even more. Condos, apartments, townhomes, all those. They will skyrocket. Why? Because the demand is high, which means they want to get the highest cost. I'm telling you, if your lease ends next year, hey, you know, you're an apartment or something that's not a home, pray to the Most High, of course, and first see what you should do. If you're in a home, of course, to stock up and be ready just in case your mortgage may be changed, if it's on a variable, or if your mortgage is being, what we called it, traded off in brokerage. These are things that they should be looking at. But pay attention, because, we went over those low income workers. Get you a job, brothers and sisters, that is, that's going to sustain the weather for however long we can endure. That's the point. All right.
Home building index tumbling 42%, almost double the 23% drop in the S&P 500. The tables have turned, and builders who last year had so much power that people would wait in line overnight for homes they would meter out are now contending with both falling demand and high material and labor costs, as explained by zero hedge experts. And now, with the Federal Reserve signaling more aggressive rate hikes in the coming months, home builders are rushing to get contracts signed before the number of prospective buyers collapses even more. Sarasota, Florida, potential buyers are hesitating because homes are taking so long to build, and it's impossible to know where borrowing costs will land by the time they're completed, said Donette Herring, a realtor with Keller Williams. Inflation makes them nervous, Herring emphasized. The market is changing fast, stressed Ali Wolf, chief economist at Zonda. Her company, which tracks new construction, began hearing of price cuts toward the end of May and into June. The builders that are cutting prices are also those that raised prices the most over the past 6 to 12 months, she said. Most of the markets that benefited from pandemic migration patterns and recorded massive price gains have started facing a correction. Data compiled by Redfin exposes that in the Phoenix metropolitan area, 22% of new home listings had price cuts from May 9th through June 5th, up.
Now, I also wanted to, this just popped up in my mind, right? Brothers and sisters, I want you to understand how bad this is. So, with people getting government assistance, right? And then the stimulus checks, and then the more moratoriums and memoriams, the eviction moratoriums, okay? So the people wouldn't be evicted. Now also the people in houses will lose their homes, right? Now, with the standard for apartments, do the apartments all go to income restricted? And what will be income restricted next year? Will it go from $1,000 rent to 2,000? Will it go from 2,000 to 3,000? What will be? And then for the people who have degrees, or for the people who, let's say, have money, what happens when they're not allowed to get into these apartments? Mind you, you have tons of people coming from the border, right? And if anyone's ever lived by the border, I've been to the border a few times. There's actually homes and apartments for non-residents as soon as they cross the border into the United States. And they don't need to be a citizen. They just have a little area for them in the prospective cities where they can apply and, You put in a home immediately. So what happens then? Because the government is looking to wheel and deal, right? Do the landlords take more immigrants and those who will be using government assistance? But then at the same time, brothers and sisters, how long do you think that government assistance is going to last? Do you really think it's going to last? No. I foresee it going straight to the floor. Like, they're like, hey, nope, no more. I mean, it's not like they can do much anymore now, right?
From 7% a year earlier. In Tampa, the share jumped to 21% from 9% a year earlier. And in Austin, it climbed to 13% from just 3%. On the same note, Realtor.com released a report that shows across the country where the median prices dropped. On average, prices have fallen by 20%, with asking prices plummeting by up to $400,000 in wealthy areas, while poorer neighborhoods have seen house values nosedive by as much as $115,000, it revealed. Jim Zuma, Vice President of Investor Relations at Pulte Group, said that over the past 18 months, most builders were waiting until homes were nearing completion before allowing buyers to purchase them because of uncertainty around materials and labor costs. Consequently, they now have a flood of new homes that need to be matched up with buyers, leading them to take orders for, quote, dirt, unquote, she said. Of her roughly 120 listings for builders, about 70% now have cuts. Soon, it'll be 100%, Zuma warned. Another important metric to watch is the contract cancellation rate, added Rick Palacios, research director at John Burns Real Estate Consulting. According to his company's survey of builders last month, it topped 9% nationally, up from 6.6% in April. The writing is on the wall that more supply is coming, no matter how you slice and dice the data, Palacios said. Builders are trying to get in front of that wave. We could have the double whammy of the economy cooling and a lot of supply coming on. That's not the best recipe to sell homes. Needless to say, the stage is set for property values to sink even further. After over a decade of reckless money printing and artificially suppressing interest rates, home prices have ballooned to the point where the slightest increase in mortgage rates has a serious financial impact on millions of people. Each rate hike takes a new layer of potential buyers out of the market. As inventory piles up and demand hits a wall, sellers are left with only one choice: cutting the price enough to where the next buyers can afford the mortgage. The Federal Reserve, on the other hand, is stuck in a crossfire. After letting inflation run wild, their only choice is to keep on raising rates and triggering chaos in financial markets. They have repeatedly told us that they had everything under control over the past few years. They said they knew exactly what they were doing. Once again, they lied. And the truth is that housing bubble burst 2.0 has begun. And sadly, it is already too late to reverse course.
Check this out. All right, we almost at the end of the road for this one. This one should be short.
Anxiety hitting the real estate market. According to a new survey from data platform Dynata, 81% of Americans say it's hard to find a home to buy or rent right now, mostly because of high prices.
There it is, 81%. That's 8 out of 10 people. Ooh, can you feel the homelessness happening? Can you feel it? Because it's about to occur. It's about to get serious. And if I'm sorry, let's say if the Most High just allows us to string just a little bit more, why wouldn't people be pilgrims like the Most High said? Just move. Just do what he say. Hey, whatever. Who am I? I'm just a guy who preaches about the Bible.
Mortgage rates are a big part of that. They're rising at the fastest pace in decades. Home sales are suddenly slowing, and data shows new home construction in May declined more than analysts expected. So is housing in for the same kind of crash we saw in the Great Recession? Here's CNBC's real estate correspondent, Diana Olek.
During the Great Recession, when home prices positively crashed, millions of homes went into foreclosure. That was because the mortgages holding up the housing market were a mess. Lenders were basically giving anyone a loan. Not so since then. For the 53.5 million first lien home mortgages in America today, the average borrower credit score is a record high 751. It was below 700 back in 2010. And thanks to the recent run-up in home prices, those borrowers have record tappable home equity. That's how much you can take out of your home and still leave 20% equity in it. $11 trillion in total, up 34% from a year ago. That's a significant cushion in case home prices soften or even fall.
If the economy were to slow significantly, then we could potentially see a home price dips. But that's not my base case. My expectation is that we'll see home price grow.
During the Great Recession, 1 in 4 homeowners was underwater on their mortgage, meaning they owed more than the home was worth.
So when it comes to the financial position of homeowners in the aggregate, housing is on really solid footing right now.
So what about the riskier loans? There are just 2.5 million adjustable rate mortgages outstanding today. Compare that to 13 million in 2007, just before the housing crash. A little more than half of those today are about to reset to higher rates, so there is a risk. But back in 07, about 10 million of those were resetting higher. Mortgage delinquencies are now at a record low, just 3% of loans, which is actually less than before the pandemic. The real risk to housing right now is affordability and recession. Prices are still so high that some new buyers just can't get in, and sky-high rents make saving for a down payment very difficult. As for current homeowners, if a recession hits and people start to lose their jobs, then they may struggle to make their payments, especially if they stretch to buy that home in the first place.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.
Now, this video I've been wanting to share with y'all for a very long time. In fact, check this out.
The U.S. housing bubble has finally burst, and real estate experts are warning that from coast to coast, property values are set to face a sizable crash. Following the massive drop in home builder stocks last week and lower than expected demand for mortgages in May, the housing market collapsed as being aggravated by the dramatic surge in interest rates, which are fueling fears that a recession may be near. Affordability is only getting worse, and renters are suffering too. This month, the median listed rent for a one-bedroom apartment rose above $2,000 for the first time ever. At this point, millions are already behind on their rents, and according to a new Bloomberg report, a tidal wave of evictions has begun. Today, we have compiled the latest updates, stats, warnings, and forecasts.
Now, check this out. Check out these numbers. Talking about the evictions now.
Reveal the dire state of America's new housing crisis. But before moving on, please support us by leaving a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future videos. In a backdrop of soaring mortgage rates and rising treasury yields and borrowing costs, potential home buyers are facing the most expensive housing prices on record. But as U.S. consumers grapple with higher prices for food, for gas, for energy, roughly 19 million prospective buyers have been priced out of the market since January, according to a Black Knight analysis of Fannie Mae data. And the softening demand has started to deflate the housing bubble much quicker than expected. In fact, that led real estate brokerage company Redfin to slash 8% of its workforce. In an interview last week, Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman noted that as demand started to cool off, it has become clear that the company has hired way too many real estate agents over the past few years. I feel this deep responsibility for the fact that we had too many people coming into this home buying season. We have been hiring at a berserk rate in 2020 and 2021 just to keep pace with the housing market, and then everything went soft very quickly and found ourselves idle in many departments. So we're at the right size now, Hellman said. On top of that, housing starts in May dropped by 14.4%, and given that mortgage rates are hovering around the 6% mark, it doesn't seem likely that the demand will climb back up to where it was a year ago.
And also, if you are looking for homes or apartments, understand that there are certain cities where the interest rates will be higher due to maybe the lender or due to the company of the apartment. So that's something that people are going to have to check. You're going to have to check out the taxes. You're going to have to check out um, the percentage of it, of the cost, the electricity. You know, we have energy issues all over. Does the electricity, does the power go out? Does the drainage go out? I haven't shared with you guys, but if you go ahead and YouTube, you'll see that some landlords are saying that they refuse to call plumbers to fix problems in the apartment until it's like at least 10 people. So that way they don't have to keep calling all at once and they can get the person to work one day rather than paying them more, coming back and back and back and back. So also understand these things take into account too. If something happens to your toilet or your sink, or do you know how to fix it? Right? Something happens to your AC, do you know how to fix it? These are very important things. Whether you're going to be, you know, living in an apartment, townhome, condo, villa, whatever, home, whatever. These are very important things to keep in mind, brothers and sisters.
As prices become too out of reach for many Americans, Hellman highlights that homes that would typically receive a couple of dozen offers last year are not getting a single offer anymore. There is a huge change when you go from 20 offers on one house to 5 offers to 1 offer. And what we're seeing is that 1 in 4 homes are now being discounted. And that indicates that some properties aren't getting a single offer whatsoever, he exposed. Over the past 2 years, the median home price has surged by 44%, now sitting above the $400,000 mark. In May, home prices jumped for the 124th consecutive month, and when higher mortgage rates are added into that equation, the median pay for a median home has actually increased by a shocking 50%, the executive added. That's the product of interest rates and home price increases, and both have shot through the roof. So it's really just a question of how much dry powder the consumer has. especially after their 401k has been waxed, he continued. Rents are skyrocketing too, causing overall housing affordability to collapse at its fastest rate on record and resulting in a lot of pain for financially drained renters. In an interview with NPR, Brandon Schwedis, a 40-year-old single dad who lived for 2 decades in Port Orange, said he was forced to move this year because his landlord said she wanted to sell the place he was living in. So Schwedis started looking around for other rental units, only to get another shock. I found the house that I was living in posted for rent for $2,000, and I was paying $1,400, he said, adding that his landlord said she knew that was out of his range. Schwedis was already using half of his salary just to pay for rent, but as he ran out of options, he bid on a place listed at $1,750 and was told he had a deal. But the next day, the agent said, sorry, someone else had just offered $200 more, sight unseen.
That's where we're going. Gonna have to start bidding for apartments. That's where we're going. You don't got negotiation skills, it's gonna get hard. And it's not, once again, brothers and sisters, I always tell you all, go back and do things through the Most High, Christ, and the Holy Spirit, because negotiation can only get you so far. It's true. It's very true.
I've lived in the same area for 20 years. I know what these houses were renting for and what they were selling for. But what's occurred over the last 2 years, it's like boom, destruction, he stressed. In the first 3 months of 2022, the period when the rental market typically cools, apartment occupancy actually hit an all-time high of an extraordinary 97.6%. As a shrinking pool of people can afford to buy a home, demand for rent continues to grow. But as the head of economics and industry principles for RealPage, Jay Parsons, explained, there's a severe shortage of rental housing at all price points and in essentially every city across the country. Asking rents for new leases climbed 15.2% nationally, and far more than that in many places. Rents are up more than 30% in Austin, Seattle, and Cincinnati. Los Angeles, the median asking rent is $3,400. Even in formerly affordable cities such as Nashville, it's now $2,140, up 32% from last year. And this month, the median listed rent for an available one-bedroom apartment rose above $2,000 a month, and that's for the first time in United States history. These rent hikes are...
Hey, everything is great. It's gonna be a great recession, as I said. It's gonna be a great collapse. Watch what happens. It's gonna take people by storm, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you. I don't know about you, but like they are saying about this that it's normal. It's not gonna recover. Remember, they're thinking carnal. We're supposed to be in a spiritual mindset. I feel like a lot more destruction is going to be done. And we are going to see, I mean, I think that time, did anyone remember that interview that years ago that when Tupac was alive, he said, you know, you go to all these, you know, you go into these neighborhoods and there's empty homes. There's even boarded up homes that could be fixed. I think we're going to see empty neighborhoods, like desert towns, ghost towns. I do believe that. And in the inner cities and where, you know, people mostly live, I think we're going to see more walking. more riding bikes. We're going to see more public transportation being used because all this is going to get everyone compacted in the city. Do you notice how there's no homeless shelter in rural areas? It's always within inside cities. The point is to keep everyone within a gridlocked city. I'm going to show you really quickly. One moment. Let's see if I can pull this up. Give me 1 second, please. I'll just pull it up here. And I don't know, maybe it's the military in me, but I always looked at cities very strangely. Okay. So here, I got a map here. This is of the entire US. Okay. I'm gonna take you to, for example, a city I lived in before, Phoenix. Okay. Now, when you zoom in really well into these cities, you will always see a grid. And what I mean is a grid, a surrounding area. These highways are surrounding areas. Okay. Right. Now, I've been to Albuquerque before. This one's more smaller. It's just a smaller grid area. Okay, even this box here. Uh, Even you take cities like Orlando. Look at this as a grid, more so. More of a circular area. Okay, now, more of a circular area. Now, even though the whole area is vastly Orlando, the point is to have these cities under a grid. Let's take, let's say, Augusta. Okay. So you see, it's all wrapped in circles. Columbia, all wrapped in circles. You can't get out, you can't get in unless you're hitting these major grids. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't think this way. It's like I said before, me being in military. Look at this. This is a grid. Charlotte. There's one grid. There's another. There's another. And there's the last one. Okay, this will keep people in, because what do I do? And it's not by coincidence that every single, I've been in Kentucky, that every single city has a grid. Oops, excuse me. See that? Every single city has a grid. You even look at Dallas and Austin. I've been to those two places. Look at that. Grid. That's all gridlocked. That's Dallas. Every part of Dallas. Even Fort Worth is gridded as well. Is that not coincidental? Look at Austin, same thing. Just a little gridlock, but mostly San Antonio's huge gridlock. Look at that. One, two, and then the next one, that big one that will join all the way. And then Houston is no different. See that? It's like a spider web. It's a gridlock. So the point is to push all the people into, even I'll look up some, show y'all some love over there, right? Even though I hate the Northeast. But Philadelphia gridlocked. Well, New York is already gridlocked without being in the web because you can't get in or out without hitting the bridges. Okay, all these major cities. You see, Providence got a little gridlock. Boston got a grid. So if you're on the water, it's going to be hard to get out. Most high forbid something was to happen. You got all the people fighting to get out of one area. They did this on purpose. It's all Columbus, Cincinnati, the Ohio. See, everything is gridlocked. And you don't think that's on purpose? The purpose is once you lose your home, you got to go to these places. Like I said, there's no rules, there's no homeless shelters in rural areas. Have you seen? There's no social work and no affordable housing in rural areas, is it? No. That's for a reason. It's to keep you in the city. Okay? It's to keep people in these grids. And that's very dangerous. Okay? Hey, watch what happens. And let me pull that up again. Watch what happens. You want to know what serious homelessness looked like? Look at San Diego. Go ahead and look up videos on San Diego and I think San Francisco as well. They got in Oakland, yes. They got some serious poverty going on over there. I mean, an extreme. And San Diego is the worst because it's by the border. Okay. So, telling you, be prepared. If you want someone on your boat and your team, get them right now because, hey.
Actively serving as evictions by landlords who know very well that their tenants will have to move as a result, enabling them to rent out the newly vacant units to new tenants at significantly higher rates. Needless to say, the sharp price increases for housing are squeezing millions of Americans who were already bearing the brunt of inflation and rising prices of consumer goods, costs, of course, that have been passed along to consumers, while some of the largest corporations in the world experience record profits. In Boise, Idaho, one of the most overvalued markets in the country, resident Tara Sickinger Curl said she experienced a $240 monthly increase in her rent this year from $1,710 to $1,950 a month, after initially renting her apartment for just $1,510 in 2019. This is a huge stretch considering I work 3 jobs and donate plasma just to make ends meet, she revealed.
And whatever you do, don't get plasma. Please don't. I've made that mistake in the past. Like years ago when I was super young. Don't get plasma. Plasma, the Bible says the soul is within the blood. So you're giving your soul to these people. Okay. If you go and look, they're even doing on the news, I think it was CBS or someone just did it on, you can see it on YouTube. Why does the United States need more blood? And they got the blood banks and all that. Did you know they got blood banks? And now, I'm going to just say one word, adrenochrome. If you've seen Maze Runner, you understand what adrenochrome is. Maze Runner number 3, that is. I think it was 2 and 3. If you've seen those 2, you know what adrenochrome is. Moving forward, I don't want to say too much because they might block me from saying it.
Also outlining that she cares for 2 teenage daughters and isn't able to downsize to a smaller apartment. Is it wrong to want the same quality of life for my children they've always had? Tara Sickinger Curl asks. Those who can still find ways to pay for the roof above their heads are among the privileged.
Look at those numbers. More than 8 million people are late.
Because according to a new Bloomberg report, more than 8 million Americans are behind on rent payments and at risk of facing eviction in the next couple of months. Eviction moratoriums have expired in August 2021, effectively removing the last piece of legislation that was acting as a safety net to keep people off the streets. With no federal eviction moratorium in place, 8.4 million Americans, or about 15% of all renters who are behind on rent, are at risk of being evicted. The new figures were part of a Census Bureau survey conducted between June 1st to June 13th of households, Bloomberg reported. The survey found that 3.5 million households were somewhat likely to leave their rented spaces, homes and apartments within the next 2 months because of an eviction.
So you got 8 million and then another 3.5 million. Come on now. It's not a game.
Most of these folks are of the working poor class and situated in large metro areas from New York to Atlanta.
Told you. It's those little areas that got the gridlock, those cities coming.
Where the cost of living, including shelter, food, and fuel, has skyrocketed, it noted. About 6.7 million households said their rents increased, on average, $250 a month over the last year. The increase doesn't sound like a lot, but remember that many of these folks are being crushed under the weight of the highest inflation in 4 decades. Their credit cards are maxed out, and savings are drained as wages fail to keep up with soaring consumer prices, experts explained. The latest data shows that a tidal wave of evictions is underway. The Princeton University Eviction Lab shows that eviction filings have already surpassed pre-pandemic levels, shooting up by 80% in March, another 47% in May. Meanwhile, mortgage applications to purchase a house collapsed by 21% last month, and as more would-be home buyers are pushed out of the market, the chief economist at Moody's Analytics, Mark Zandi, is warning that the U.S. housing market is on the verge of a coast-to-coast price crash. Zandi said his firm expects home prices to sink dramatically in key competitive markets that are the most juiced or overvalued. Larry Bowe tells you, the senior real estate advisor at Solomon Partners, the housing market crash is inevitable and has already started to happen. Botel emphasized your average home buyer cannot afford to pay the same amount as they could, so prices need to adjust. A new core logic analysis of the nation's largest regional housing markets found that among the 392 regional housing markets it tracks, at least 45 markets had a greater than 50% chance of seeing local home prices decline over the next 12 months. That's a 73% increase from last month, when only 26 markets fell into that camp. The probability of
Take a look. Home prices dropping. Take a look at the map. Okay. Now, you think about it. Most High said to be a pilgrim. The two hardest hit areas is the West Coast and the Northeast. Of course, you have New York City, then you have all of California, Oregon, Washington. Oh yeah, it's getting high, and it's gonna get even worse for them. Those touristic cities.
Its decline has intensified in recent months as mortgage rates continue to surge and consumer confidence has been shattered by high inflation and fears of recession. The number of markets with more than 50% probability of price decline has nearly doubled, pointed out Selma Hepp, Deputy Chief Economist at CoreLogic. Housing affordability has been on the decline for years. It's only getting worse. At this point, more and more Americans do not believe now is a good time to purchase a home. According to Fannie's Home Purchase Sentiment Index, the percentage of survey respondents who say it is a good time to buy fell to 17% in May, while the percentage of those who say it is a bad time to buy rose to 79%. Overvaluation and speculation are two key elements required to maintain the growth of a housing bubble. But home price growth can't outrun income growth forever. And given that a smaller share of Americans can afford to buy a home in this environment, and sellers have already started to slash property prices, the 2021 housing boom has seemingly come full circle, ending in a historic burst this year. A lot more volatility is coming for the U.S. housing market. What we've seen so far is just a hint of the devastating downturn that's approaching. The 2022 housing market crash has just begun.
Now, oh man. Okay. Wow. Now, I just want to show you all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. One moment. Make sure I have the right things for y'all. Don't want to show the wrong video. Well, that was last open, but I just want to, okay. I'll show you this one because that one was a little older. So just one more after this. Check this out, y'all. Now this one will wrap it up into a society as a whole. And you know, if you ever go ahead and show someone this video on YouTube, the Epic Economist. This one got some wild statistics. Check this out.
Lately, watching the news is almost the same as watching a horror show. You never know what you're going to see each day, but it's almost certain that it's going to be something crazy. The things we're about to share with you in today's video may be weird, some can make you laugh, and others are simply infuriating, but they all point to the same conclusion. From the very top to the very bottom, America is going insane. We have truly become a brainless society. And while our country goes from bad to worse, most people remain unaware of our true problems. That's why we have gathered some simple but revealing examples of just how nonsensical things have become in our country. But before checking this unusual list, please give us your support by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, here are 15 examples that show how completely and utterly insane our society has become. 1. American children's quality of life is steadily decaying. When analyzing the level of literacy, access to healthcare, science, and technology education amongst children between the ages of 6 and 18, the United States ranks number 24 in a list of 26 developed nations tracked by the OECD. In fact, 1 in every 6 children in America is likely to live in a household facing financial problems, according to the National Parenting Organization, Parents Together. 2. Among developed nations with complete reliable statistics, the U.S. has the highest teen pregnancy rate of them all, according to a recent report from the Guttmacher Institute. For every 1,000.
No wonder why they shouting for abortion. Come on now. And you know, there'll be women who say, but it's the men's fault. There's going to be a lot of, hey, there's two sides to a story, two sides to the coin. But at the end of the day, the Most High tells everyone to acknowledge their choices. And also, Babylon makes up more females than males by the millions. So this is a very bad number. This is bad. So when I call Babylon a cesspool of fornication and sin, that's exactly what it is.
Tracked by the OECD. In fact, 1 in every 6 children in America is likely to live in a household facing financial problems, according to the National Parenting Organization, Parents Together. 2. Among developed nations with complete reliable statistics, the U.S. has the highest teen pregnancy rate of them all, according to a recent report from the Guttmacher Institute. For every 1,000 teenage girls between 15 and 19 years old, 57 are pregnant at any given time in America.
From 15 to 19, almost you can say, rounding it up because we round the numbers yesterday, 60%. That means 6 out of 10 females that are teenagers that you see have been pregnant at least once. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Because it's wrong. Can we talk about the sin? And my thing is this, right? This is not like, it's bad because this is not classified just by one or two demographics of nationalities. This is the entire country. All the nations mixed up together. 6 out of 10. Like, this should be an important topic. Instead of shouting over their lungs over abortion, let's look at why you're screaming. Oh, 60% of you have been pregnant before you even married someone, before you even got out of school, before you even got out of your mama's house. Huh? But they don't want to talk about it. So United States is producing the worst of people. This is really what it is. They're producing the worst of people. And why I say it's the worst, it's okay to make mistakes. We've all lived in sin. That's true. But the difference from us to them is that we're sorrowful for our mistakes, and they're not. The difference is they keep going. The difference is you have a nation who will blame men for everything. But where is the accountability with 60%? And then you have the nerve to say that every abortion is about rape and incest? What? So you mean to tell me that 60 or maybe 50% of those were rape cases and incest? Come on now. And this is why I be so hard on women and the truth. Like, what are y'all doing? Why are you, instead of everyone so talking about these young men, and why y'all not coaching up these females looking like hookers in high schools, looking like they going to a club, but yet they're in middle school and high school? Because if a man say it, he's a pedophile. So why not the women stepping up and saying something? Why aren't the women? Where are the mothers at? If all the men are gone, why is the mothers allowing this? Why is it that you tell a man, a young teenager, make sure you got a clean cut, make sure you're nice, make sure your clothes tucked in. But when it comes to a female, no one says nothing. There's no accountability. And now you have females yelling at the top of their lungs about abortion. Hey, it's a disgrace.
In England and Wales, for example, that number is about 20% lower. In Switzerland, only 8 girls per 1,000 are pregnant. 3, a new study of American teenagers and their reading habits finds that a third haven't read a book in hard copy or on a device like a Kindle in the past year. In the early 1990s, a third of 10th graders read the daily newspaper.
I remember when we was kids, for those of you who are millennials, like myself, like, remember when we was kids, even the Sunday newspaper we would look at, like, it wasn't all the time, but at least we would read it. I mean, remember the book reports in school? Remember the reading summer, and they would like encourage you to read so many books where you would get a prize or something like. And that's why I call these kids in this generation. I stopped teaching high school and middle school just a few years ago. I can't do it. These kids in this generation, I'm sorry if anyone from this generation is listening. May the Most High, you obviously different if you listen to the lessons of the Most High. But for the rest of your peers, good grief, they are the dumbest things the world has produced. Can't read, they definitely can't write. They can't even write their own name, let alone they don't even know how to sign a piece of paper for official legal uses. What's, what's wrong with this? This is out of control. And that go back to the parents as well. That, of course, goes back to the parents. And then, hey, the pandemic showed people, and I said this before, I said it in a year, maybe in the beginning of the pandemic lesson, I said, the households are breaking apart through the lockdowns because people don't know who they live with. They just wake up to them and they go to sleep with them. You wake up, you go to work, you go to school, you come back home, maybe you eat together, maybe you don't, you go to sleep. You don't know who you live with. Those children don't know their mother or their father. Those parents don't know their children. The house is just a rest stop, like in the middle of a highway. It's a rest stop. That's all it is. And that's why society is the way it is. Kudos to those parents who realize that their home is not a rest stop, because a home is where you learn about the Most High. A home is where you find your peace. Supposed to be, not a rest stop, not a pit stop. Like, oh, I gotta go, gotta go. No.
That number had dropped to just 2% by 2020. What's more, back in the late 1970s, 60% of 12th graders read a book or read a magazine almost daily, but just 16% had the same reading habits in 2020. In contrast, a separate survey found that 45% of US teenagers are online almost constantly.
That's 50% of teenagers. Brain dead. That's what I call it. Brain dead. And it is so sad. It's sad because in a good world, you would have think that this generation has so much technology, so much access to like things that can be used for good, and it's always used for bad. Sad, sad. And I'm like, why, right? Why is everyone trying to get money from TikTok, Instagram, do these reels? And then my mind is on another level. If I was a female in this generation and I seen they created OnlyFans, I would have said, is this how much you value me? For me to go and sell myself online? Is that, and it's not just for young people as well, it's for older people. Is this how much you value me as a person? You want me to sell myself legally? Because OnlyFans is legal prostitution. I don't care what no one says. It's prostitution at your fingertips from your home. That's what it is. It was like, When are the women of the world going to say, is this how you value me? There should be twice as much women who's advocating for abortion, should be 5 times more women on the opposite side saying, well, if you're giving them rights, what about maternity rights? How come you're not going to pay me five or almost $10,000 for my child? How come I have to kill a child to get a reward? What's happening? Did anyone notice more men are advocating for women to keep their children than women are? Did anyone notice that? And more women are are fighting to get rid of it? Ooh, some judgment. Most High, you can just clean this place up. No wonder why the Most High say he's just going to blow this place up. It's unsalvageable. 60% of teenage girls supposed to be learning modesty, even the young men. Young men are always taught what? Go out, provide for your families, right? Go get an education. And what are they teaching females? OnlyFans, TikTok. What's happening here? And now they thank you, Tyra Banks, for introducing drags to school and churches. Now, what is this? It's unsalvageable. Thank you, Jennifer Lopez, for introducing your child as a he, him, they, their, whatever. Like, thank you. And you notice this? I say the females need to be corrected the most because the females are leading this. They are leading full force this sodomy, this LGBTQ, this drag. They're leading all of this stuff. And the minute, have you noticed this, right? Prove me wrong. If you're a male, how could you? You're a man. Toughen up, right? Now, when you go to a female and correct them, oh, you're misogynistic. Oh, you're sexist. Do you hate all females? They've trained the women to not receive correction. And so now, when someone corrects a woman, oh, is he body shaming me? Is he misogynistic? It, it, is he sexist? What do you are you for the patriarchy? Do you feel that men should rule everything? I think you have toxic masculinity. But not a female can be corrected once. This place, Most High, is waste at the public waste system. Babylon is just a filth.
4. 1 in 8 families in America is hungry. That's 21.2% of all U.S. households, when including what economists call the working poor, who earn about $25,000 a year for a family of 4. According to Oxfam America, more than 51.9 million Americans are working but living in poverty and anxiety. Out of the estimated $2,017 they earn a month, families need to pay for housing, utilities, childcare, transportation, healthcare, and groceries. The firm also found that 60% of households led by older Americans must choose between buying groceries or paying utility bills, and that 15% of people in rural areas are hungry due to the lack of access to grocery stores or transportation. 5. In contrast, even as our domestic food production continues to decline every year, 40% of the country's food supply goes to waste. On average, Americans waste approximately 1.4 billion tons of food in a given year. This means that each year we throw away about $161 billion worth of food, $1,500 worth per person. 6. At the same time, the U.S. is the most overweight country on earth.
Did you hear that?
Although that isn't exactly new information for many of us, when compared to the rest of the world, we can understand how bad this really
Check
is.
this out.
Worldwide, 38% of men and 36.9% of women worldwide are either overweight or obese. In America, 71% of men and 62% of women fall into that category. Another study of U.S. men and women published in the journal.
Look, they had to create a different color for. That's how bad it is. They had to create an entire color for Babylon. Good grief.
Internal medicine found that nearly 40% of men and nearly 30% of women were overweight, with body mass indexes between 25 and 29. Worldwide, only 13% of the planet's population is overweight. 7. According to a study commissioned by LG Electronics.
I gotta say it. When I was in Ethiopia, my wife and I will never forget it. We were driving in the car, and it wasn't funny, but you know, the people when they see someone fat, they be like, "That's American fat." That's what they resemble, like filth as American, like, oh, American filth, American fat, like that should say something. Think about it. Babylon is a plague to the world. It's almost time to get cleansed. Look how much TV people watch.
The average American will watch over 78,000 hours of television over the course of a lifetime. On a day-to-day basis, the average American adult watches TV for 3.5 hours, amounting to 1,248 hours each year. On that note, the average adult will spend 2,943 hours of their life just deciding what to watch. The fact that we are endlessly watching so much television could help to explain why our society has become so dumbed down. 8. The vast majority of Americans are up to their necks in debt. Over the past 50 years, we have become addicted to credit cards. For some, debt is a simple way of life. According to an Experian study, the average American carries $92,727 in consumer debt. That's a huge number for most of us. When we add it up, it reveals just how gigantic our debt load really is. When you take that average and factor in the population and demographic information, the nation as a whole owes over $16 trillion in all forms of consumer debt. That number includes credit card debt, which has an average interest rate of 16.17%. In other words, Americans are drowning in debt, and the problem is only getting worse. 9. If you have $10 and no debt, you are richer than 15% of all American households.
That's bad.
Federal Reserve data reveals that 15.1% of the households in the U.S. population have a net wealth less than or equal to zero, while 14% have strictly negative wealth.
You think I'm lying? You think you're not going to see a bunch of homeless people all over the world, all over Babylon? Buckle up. Buckle up, I'm telling you.
Moreover, 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings, while another 45% of Americans say they have $0 in savings.
Good. Look at that.
But can Americans be forgiven for thinking debt doesn't matter? Apparently, after all, it doesn't matter to the U.S. government. Our current national debt stands at $30.5 trillion. 10. While our government spends trillions to prop up financial markets and fund unnecessary projects,
and give money to Ukraine,
our crumbling infrastructure continues to threaten the lives of U.S. citizens all across the country. The American Road and Transportation Builders Association has found that nearly 10% of all bridges in the U.S., 55,710 bridges in all, are structurally deficient and in need of repair or replacement.
aka they'll crumble soon.
Ports, levees, roads, schools, energy plants, waste treatment plants, and other necessary types of infrastructure are
Infrastructure grade for the entire U.S. D plus. Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen. Do you hear me?
also struggling, leading the American Society of Civil Engineers to award the overall infrastructure of the United States not an A, B, C, no, we get a D grade. Fixing the nation's failing road infrastructure would cost $2 trillion over 10 years, according to a 2019 estimate released by Fortune. A modest amount, considering we pay almost $500 billion just in interest on the national debt every year. 11. In America, the poor population experiences the most extreme disparities than elsewhere. In comparing poverty in the United States to the other 25 developed nations tracked by OECD, American poverty is both more prevalent and more severe. The U.S. has the highest rate of poverty of any other developed country, according to the OECD.
Any other? I thought this was the best country in the world. The most poverty. You can't be the best and have homeless people all over. You can't be the best and have your homeless shelters at capacity every day. You can't be the best and your people can't even eat food, buy items, buy homes. You you can't be the best. You're the worst.
In short, when analyzing poverty as the number of persons who fall below 50% of a country's median income, the overall U.S. rate stands at 17.8%, while the average of the other 25 countries is below 10%. The distance between the poor's average income and the poverty line is nearly 40% in America. 12. The United States is the developed nation with the highest rate of homeless people. Advocates say that official numbers only show a fraction of the problem. On a given night, approximately 1.5 million people sleep on the streets in America.
And you think they care about raising the interest rate so you could stay in your home? Sorry. I'm sorry. It's about to be a lot of homeless people. Now they got numbers, and we probably know that number is bigger because a lot of homeless people hide. You think they care about you? Babylon is falling.
If the United States is the wealthiest nation in the world, why are so many people homeless? The answer isn't simple.
Look by the numbers in the states of homelessness. Let's take a look at it. Now, I'm a little mad at these numbers because if you live on that northeast area, you see those numbers 6,000, 65, 65, 921. That's pretty good. 8,000. How you get 8,000 from a small little state? And then you get a place like Utah, 2,000, or Alabama and Mississippi, really small numbers. I told you those heavily populated cities or states with tourist attractions. Look at California. Look at Arizona. Look at Vegas. Texas got the three cities. Dallas, well, more than three, but Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth, Waco. Oh, Waco is, oh, you don't want to go there. Trust me. Austin. Austin is a homeless capital to me of Texas. I've never been to Houston though. I've been to San Antonio. San Antonio is okay from what I've seen, but nothing cuts the cake like I've seen. To me, San Diego and Austin are together. They're like people are sleeping in tents on the sidewalk, not in a park, not under a bridge, but the bridges are full underneath. It reminds me of Ethiopia. That's what Austin looks like. But take a look. These numbers will go up, skyrocket next few months. Watch.
There's a clear disparity between the wealthiest people and those at the very bottom of the economic food chain. The states with the most homeless people are California, New York, Florida, Washington, Oregon, and Texas. Ironically, those are also the states where the wealthiest people in the country live in. 13. America also has the largest prison population in the entire world. Even though that's a widely known fact, most people have no idea how terrible this really is when compared to other countries.
It's horrible.
For instance, we have 724 people in prison for every 100,000 US citizens. In China, they have only 118 people in prison out of 100,000. According to the International Center for Prison Studies,
check this out now. Prison population in Babylon, 2 million, pretty much 2.1 million people.
the country currently has more than 2.2 million people behind bars. That represents nearly 22% of the total global population of inmates, which is extremely shocking when considering that the US supports just 4.4% of the world's population.
So the US is 4% of the world's population, but has 22% of prisoners of the entire world. That's okay? It's not okay. Burn this place to the ground.
On top of
Babylon
that,
is
the
finished.
jail occupancy rate in the US is at 107.6%, meaning they're overcrowded and insufficient to house what nearly amounts to the population of Slovenia. 14. America's freedom of the press and freedom of speech aren't as real as we think.
That's true.
In the United States Constitution, freedom of speech and freedom of the press are core principles of American liberty, both of being codified into law via the First Amendment, which guarantees the right to freely say and report their views on the government, whether those views are positive or negative. That's the pillar of a free and just society. However, those freedoms have been disappearing over the past decades. Once considered a model for press freedom and free speech, the US ranking on the World Press Freedom Index has sharply dropped from 24th to 42nd out of 180 nations in the past 20 years, as press freedom violations continue to increase at a troubling rate.
So In other words, the United States, they're allowing people to feel the image of free speech when it really doesn't exist anymore. It really doesn't.
According to a study conducted by Reporters Without Borders, there are unprecedented levels of distrust in the American media. The disinformation affecting American society has created an atmosphere where citizens no longer know who to trust. Online harassment, particularly towards women and minorities, is also a serious issue for journalists and can impact their quality of life and safety. The ranking fell to the point on the scale where it describes the treatment of journalists as being problematic. In recent years, journalists have had to work in dangerous conditions and have faced an unprecedented climate of animosity and aggression during protests, where unprovoked attacks occurred on clearly identified reporters. There is a troubling trend of journalists experiencing harassment and intimidation in the field, the study adds. And 15, maybe the reason why we're so oblivious about all of this is because at least half of Americans don't even know all First Amendment freedoms. A stunning survey published by the Economic Policy Institute found that 3/4 of Americans don't even know how many amendments make up the Bill of Rights. In fact, 1 in 5 people wasn't even familiar with the Bill of Rights when asked. A perfect example of how ignorant our society has become. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how bad things have gotten in the United States. Our society has been turned upside down, and our nation has become a giant, grotesque circus. And though it can be entertaining to watch for a little while, it won't be too long before the entire thing comes crashing down on top of all of us. Thank you very much for watching. We look forward to your comments under this video, and please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future bulletins.
One last video I got for y'all. And I really want to share the other one.
Today, we've brought you some numbers that may be hard to digest. Even though most of us know by now that America is in trouble, many people out there don't have any idea of how deep in trouble we really are. Offense rates are shooting up tremendously right now. As the cost of basic necessities escalates, more people are to feed themselves today than in any other period in the past decade. Gas theft rates are skyrocketing as prices rise above the $5 mark. Since January, the number of carjackings has gone up by over 300% in some cities. The truth is that our country is rapidly falling apart. Our living standard,
like I said, that they're going to barter, you share with them these videos.
decaying, and at this point, we all can see our quality of life evaporating right before our eyes. That's why we have compiled some sobering statistics that reveal that the crises we're facing are far more severe than most of us imagine. But before checking this list, please support us by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss our future videos. Without further ado, here are 15 signs that America is in much worse trouble than we all thought. Number 1. America is facing a breakdown of social order as the rate of offenses continues to surge all across the country. Federal data shows that the number of transgressions rose by almost 30% over the past year, with car theft rates increasing by 40% nationwide. Some states have seen an even larger jump in the number of carjackings, including Minneapolis, recording a 339% increase, followed by New York City at 277%, Washington, D.C., 267%, Chicago at 171%, and New Orleans at 170%. Two.
What did my brother say? Black lives don't matter to black people. It's true. It's true.
With the nationwide average price of gasoline hitting $5 a gallon, gasoline theft is on the rise too. Officers say that it's not just a few gallons being siphoned from vehicles. Now, thieves are pumping thousands of dollars worth of fuel from gas stations and selling it for a profit. CNN reported that in Orlando, Florida, authorities are looking for two people who they say stole more than 1,000 gallons of fuel from a gas station. In Las Vegas, Nevada, highly modified vehicles are being used to steal tens of thousands of gallons from local gas stations.
Remember, you thought it was a movie when they was doing it. You're like, wow, this is really jam-packed. You thought it was just a game when they were showing stuff like this and Grand Theft Auto. Oh, these things were just fueling people's imaginations for the time.
In Greenville, South Carolina, several arrests for gas thefts have been made since January. Last week in North Carolina, almost 400 gallons of gas was stolen by thieves who were able to bypass the payment system. The list goes on and on. And given that gas prices are expected to continue to rise, we're going to see many more similar cases happening until the end of the year. 3. Shoplifting rates are going up at an alarming pace. Even though retailers have always been vulnerable to shoplifting, the emergence of coordinated and organized robberies at high-value stores has the industry on edge. In a survey of 55 retailers,
you gonna tell those Israelites, you gonna barter against organized crime? They ain't going to talk and kumbaya with you. They coming to take what you got, and if you get in their way, to kill you.
and two-thirds said they faced financial losses due to fraud and crime over the past 12 months. And that's according to the National Retail.
Look at this. Workplace violence up 61%. 61%. Organized crime, retail crime, 57%.
Federation's Retail Security Survey, with 57% of them noting an overall increase in the rate of organized robberies since 2020. The survey also shows that shoplifting costs retailers an average of $700,000 per $1 billion in sales. 4. Today, more Americans are to feed themselves, according to a study conducted by.
You gonna barter? No, I'm not bartering with anyone. To you, I have nothing. I have nothing.
Washington Post, food theft is now worse than it was during the recession of 2008. Since the third quarter of 2021, there was a 35% increase in the number of retailers reporting food theft. That's a trend that's expected to intensify as food prices continue to reach new highs. 5. On dividedness, the U.S. ranks number 1. A Pew Research Center survey of 20 developed nations found that Americans were the most likely to say their society was split along partisan, racial, and ethnic lines.
Look at those numbers. The U.S. leading it all. Look at those numbers. What a joke.
The U.S. also reported more religious division than almost any other country surveyed. Overall, the level of political division that Americans report, 90% say they see strong or very strong conflicts between supporters of different political parties, is striking.
What did the Bible say? They'll cleave to their liking, right? What does the rich got to do with the poor? All that. Take a look at it.
High. In the countries that Pew surveyed, the average level of perceived strong political conflict was just 50%. 6. Global health leaders call America the most dangerous developed nation to give birth in. Leaders with the March of Dimes and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation say that over 50,000 women are severely injured during childbirth in the U.S., and about 700 women are victimized by failed procedures every year.
I thought it was about women's health care. They said reproductive rights, right? Why can't they save the women? Why can't they make sure their bodies are taken care of after childbirth? I thought it was about reproductive rights. It's not. It's about these women to sacrifice willingly their children.
Over the past decade, the rate of maternal mortality per 100,000 births.
Look at that. Mortality rates amongst women in the United States, maternal deaths, rose while other nations declined.
In most developed nations, including Germany, France, Japan, England, and Canada, fell or plateaued to below 10%. But in the US, the figure spiked to 26.4%. 7. More than 60 million Americans have inadequate access to basic health care, while also enduring the effects of discrimination, poverty, and dangerous environments that accelerate higher rates of illness. The Gallup poll found that about 44% of working poor Americans have skipped medical care in the past 3 months due to the cost. The survey also found that amongst middle-class Americans, 20% of families earning $120,000 or more annually did not get the medical treatment they needed because they could not afford it. 8. Since the 1970s, economic inequality in the U.S. has skyrocketed, leaving many Americans living paycheck to paycheck, while the nation's top earners hoard all the gains from economic growth. According to the Economic Policy Institute, productivity has increased by 61.8% since 1979, yet hourly pay for workers has only increased by 17.5%. The widening productivity pay gap has also been accompanied by a widening wage gap between the nation's top earners and the bottom 90%. Since 1979, the top 1% of earners have seen a 179.3% increase in wages, and the top 0.1% have seen a 389.1% increase, while the bottom 90% have only seen a modest 28.2% increase. 9. A separate analysis released by the Economic Policy Institute exposed that in 1968, minimum wage workers earned $10.59 an hour in inflation-adjusted dollars, 46% more than the earnings of minimum wage workers today. Had the minimum wage continued to rise with productivity, today's federal minimum wage of $7.25 would be over $22. The Raise the Wage Act of 2021 could increase the federal minimum wage to $15 by 2025, although this increase would not close the productivity pay gap.
So I want you to look at this now. So what that means is everyone
10
is getting excited about a pay increase, but they're still raising the interest rates, which means that pay increase will do absolutely nothing. It will do the same as what it did before when the interest rates was lower. All they're doing is just trying to inch it up a little bit so that you don't realize it's the same thing. You may have seen $11, $12, and now it's $14 or $15, or from $7 to $15. But does it really increase when the interest rate is so high? When inflation is still high, does it really increase? Do you come out saving more? You'll find these people saying no.
$59 an hour in inflation-adjusted dollars, 46% more than the earnings of minimum wage workers today. Had the minimum wage continued to rise with productivity, today's federal minimum wage of $7.25 would be over $22. The Raise the Wage Act of 2021 could increase the federal minimum wage to $15 by 2025, although this increase would not close the productivity pay gap, researchers noted. 10. It's actually been 11 years since the last federal minimum wage hike, the longest span the baseline wage has gone without an increase since it began in 1938. Since the last federal minimum wage hike to $7.25 an hour, starting July 24, 2009, the cost of living has shot up by 20%, while the price of essentials such as housing and healthcare have increased even faster. The average rent back in 2009 was about $1,132 adjusted for inflation. Housing costs have soared in the past decade, pushing the average rent to almost $1,900 in March, or almost 30% higher than a typical rent in 2019, according to.
Look at that. Full-time minimum wage workers cannot afford rent anywhere. So it doesn't matter if you make $15 an hour. It doesn't matter if you make $13 or $14 an hour. If you are making the minimum wage, you are dead. This is really, that's just the reality. If you're with the Most High, you're good to go. But if you're not, you're dead. It's simple.
Latest Rent Cafe report, which means that today a worker must earn more than $22 an hour to afford a modest one-bedroom apartment.
You see that? You gotta be making in the 20s and 30s. See, there are people who celebrate for little wages. No, 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 no. You don't celebrate because when your pay goes up, so does those rates go up.
11. On top of all that, the U.S. manufacturing sector is facing a historic slowdown right now, which is quite alarming, given that about 12% of the nation's total output comes from manufacturing. A report published this year by Deloitte and the Manufacturing Institute revealed that since the start of the pandemic, America's manufacturing industry shed 1.33 million jobs, with roughly 578,000 job losses recorded over the past year alone. The researchers also estimate that the United States may lose an additional 2.1 million jobs in manufacturing in the next 5 years.
Agenda 21.
12. The supply chain disruptions we've seen so far are just a hint of the chaos we are going to witness this year. As we enter peak shipping season, shipping information company Freightos estimates that by August, the price to ship one 40-foot container from China to the U.S. East Coast will shoot up to more than $20,000. That is almost twice as high as shipping rates were just in January, and it's a 500% increase from 2019 levels. Now, the massive spike is the result of a shortage of shipping containers, staffing issues, and port congestion. And at this point, 6 in 10 U.S. consumers surveyed by Pollster Gallup said they have been impacted by shortages and price increases. A recent survey by Oracle showed that 92% of American consumers expect more supply chain interruptions will occur in the future. 13. It should go without saying at this point that the quality of life in the United States is dropping precipitously. In the latest Social Progress Index, a global ranking that scores countries on 50 aspects of their quality of life, the U.S. took a disappointing 28th place. It's one of just 3 countries, along with Brazil and Hungary, to score worse than when the Social Progress Index began back in 2011. And even among those 3, the U.S. experienced the largest decline in the quality of life over the last decade. 14. Amongst the 100 nations tracked by the index, the U.S. ranked 91st and 97th place when it comes to access to basic education. And
look what it says. We are no longer the country we like to think we are. That's what they said.
Quality healthcare, respectively. But when it comes to the highest discrimination rate against minority groups, the U.S. rose to the top. Michael Porter, a Harvard Business School professor and advisory panel chair of the Social Progress Index, says, "We are no longer the country we like to think we are. It's like we're a developing country." That's Michael Porter from Harvard. And 15. In face of all that, there's no wonder why Americans are so pessimistic about the future. Looking ahead to 2050, Americans see many aspects of life in the U.S. sharply deteriorating, with roughly 3/4 or 73% saying that the gap between the rich and the poor will grow wider by 2050. More generally, the public is skeptical that the
Don't worry, Babylon ain't getting to there.
standard of living for average American families will improve in the future. 44% expect the living standard to get worse by 2050, and about a third, 35%, believe there will be no real change. According to the Pew Research Center, the public sees tougher financial times on the horizon for older Americans. A majority of U.S. adults, 57%, say those aged 65 and older will have a worse standard of living in 2050.
Now, when they say these far off dates, just know that it's sooner than that. So maybe a year or 2 from now, that's what they're referring to.
They do today. About 7 in 10, 72%, say older adults will be less prepared financially for retirement than their counterparts today. And an even larger share, 83%, believes most people will definitely or probably have to work into their 70s to be able to afford retirement, the firm reported. This is what America has become. It turns out that we're not as great as a nation as we want to believe we are. We actually need to take a long look in the mirror and start acknowledging that we are in an advanced state of decline. The American people have to wake up because the time to turn things around is running out.
Hey, the time to turn your life around with Christ and the Most High is running out. I'm going to play it for y'all. Last video. This came out today, just a few hours ago. Last one.
It's official. According to industry insiders, the supply chain nightmare that has been plaguing the United States for the past couple of years is set to remain for the long term, aggravating shortages and resulting in a historic slowdown in domestic production at the same time that retailers grapple with record shipping costs and a weakening consumer demand. Even though many were expecting the crisis to ease now that the health crisis started fading away, experts say that's not the case at all. In a repeat of the 2021 scenes, thousands of empty containers are piling up at U.S. ports, contributing to five-digit container prices, as well as the worst delivery delays on record and empty shelves all across the country. In some places, rationing has already begun, and the trend is expected to intensify as we move into the second half of the year. There's a lot to cover in today's video, but before moving on, please give us your support by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel to stay updated with the most important news. Approximately 4 million containers are stuck outside ports worldwide as congestion takes a turn for the worse. As analysts with logistics company RBC noted, that's the perfect recipe for even higher shipping costs. When ships are scarce, regardless of whether due to an increasing number of vessels queuing at a port or true demand, prices see upward pressure, they wrote to release last week. The analysts also highlighted that supply chains are seeing the worst delivery delay on record right now. The time of turnaround, known as TOT, continues to rise, leading more ships to get stuck in queues outside U.S. ports, they wrote, adding that they expect freight rates to remain elevated for a protracted period due to scheduling problems, given that less than 15% of ships are arriving on time. The company revealed that at least 300 container ships that left the port of Shanghai last month are about to arrive at the U.S. West Coast, and their estimates suggest that some of these vessels will be awaiting berth for 111 days. That is a huge increase compared to last
111 days. Waiting. Don't you remember when Minister Yashab told you get what you can? I told you get it, right? I told you before it happens. Hey, let's just hope you listen.
Average of 37 days. Port congestion is worsening, becoming increasingly widespread. Michael Tran, RBC's head of digital intelligence strategies, said in the report. The plethora of problems is having a domino-like negative compounding effect across various markets, he emphasized. In the past 12 months, container costs have risen tenfold, jumping from $3,000 to $30,000. This year's shipping interruptions in China and Europe have exacerbated the container shortage and have driven prices to unprecedented levels, according to Josh Safran, director of Plug and Play Tech Center in Rogers. RBC also pointed out that the Russian aggression on Ukraine has prompted insurance companies to raise the cost of protection coverage for ships in the Black Sea. The increased insurance rates range between 1% and 5% of the value of the ship. Before the conflict, rates were only 0.25%. Moreover, with fuel supplies falling to their lowest level since 2007 and prices reaching all-time highs, RBC reported that operators are passing higher costs to customers. In a separate report released by Morgan Stanley on Monday, analysts said they don't expect capacity increases until late 2023. They predict that container prices in the spot market could reach up to $47,000 this summer, outlining that as the trucking industry faces labor shortages, that is also going to boost costs and increase delays. In a recent interview with Bloomberg, one industry insider said that supply chain problems will persist for the long term, despite eventual improvements in port congestion. By now, too many choke points have emerged across the system, and none of them can be fixed overnight. Jim Schwartz, Global.
Look at that. DHL says supply chain won't recover to pre-COVID days in 2023. You just get what you can. Telling you.
Forwarding freight CEO at logistics giant DHL said while the flow of vessels and containers will start to ease as a global recession begins, conditions on global supply chains will never be the same. I don't think we're going to go back to this overcapacity situation where rates were very low. Infrastructure, especially in the US, is not going to get any better anytime soon because infrastructure developments take a long time, he said. On a similar note, logistics experts Shara Schiffling and Nicholas Valentesis Canelos explained that even if there is a best case scenario with the Ukraine crisis contained and no more lockdowns in China, supply chains are clearly going to be under heavy pressure for the foreseeable future. A new survey of corporate executives and CEOs revealed that 88% of companies are bracing for sweeping disruptions until mid-2023. Now that the U.S. economy is facing growing imbalances, supply chain problems are set to trigger a bullwhip effect, explained FreightWaves CEO Craig Fuller. The bullwhip effect is a term used in supply chain circles to describe a scenario in which temporary surges in retail demand are magnified and exaggerated by upstream manufacturers and suppliers who rapidly increase production well beyond the level that can be supported by consumers. Eventually, retailers find themselves with more inventory than they can sell, and what started as a goods shortage ends up as a goods surplus.
But guess what? By the time it gets to the stores, you won't be able to afford it. Boy, they creating the perfect storm for a purge. Like I said, brothers and sisters, you think someone gonna barter with you? They still in gas. They still in gas. What you gonna think? What do you think they're gonna do with food? We ain't seen nothing yet. And it's because the mercy of the Most High is just holding it back just for a little bit. But once it starts happening it's gonna spread like a wildfire. If you in those inner cities, you better get out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Fuller wrote. Although employment rates have rebounded, American consumers are incredibly stressed about the state of the economy and their personal financial security. Record inflation, crashing stock markets, higher interest rates, and growing economic and financial uncertainty are having a dramatic impact on consumer confidence. For supply chains, the consumer pullback couldn't come at a worse time. The bullwhip effect has created a massive overstock of inventories and has wreaked havoc on global supply chains as companies try to recover from the pandemic economy, the executive continued. A full 77% of U.S. container imports come from industries that have reported massive supply gluts: retail, electronics, furniture, clothing, and appliances. FreightWaves anticipates continued weakness until inventories are worked back down to normal levels, Fuller warns. This means that a massive production slowdown is already taking place as the mismatch between supply and demand continues. At the same time, the United States' largest hubs of Los Angeles and Long Beach in Southern California are dealing with a record influx of cargo, as retailers stock up on back to school and holiday goods. But this is happening just as U.S. railroads and warehouses remain clogged. Thousands of dock worker contracts across the West Coast have expired. The vacancy rate at Southern California facilities is now around 0.3%, with a lack of availability particularly acute in the inland Empire counties of Riverside and San Bernardino. Port of Los Angeles Executive Director Gene Soroka reported at a virtual meeting of harbor commissioners last week. During normal times, the vacancy rate stood as high as 15%, he said. We can't build these facilities fast enough. And even though we boast 2 billion square feet from the shores of the Pacific now out to the desert region of Southern California, we've got to turn that cargo out faster and have enough space under the roof to manage all of these consumer and manufacturing products, he stressed earlier this month. The backlog of empty containers has more than tripled since February, taking up space at docks and aggravating congestion. As of Monday, there were more than 28,000 rail container units on the ground, about 2/3 of which had been waiting to be picked up for 2 weeks or more. All of this means that the disruptions we're about to face over the coming weeks and months are going to be far worse than most of the public knows. Before U.S. supply chains had been taken over by chaos in 2020, most Americans believed that the phenomenon of product shortages was a problem that only foreign countries had to face, and one they would never experience in their lifetime. But things have changed very rapidly. The shortages we've been witnessing came at a time of record inflation. But the truth is, we haven't seen the worst of the price hikes just yet. The high costs of everyday essentials have led many people to alter their spending habits, leading to higher levels of buying at supermarkets as well as greater demand for cheaper items. With each passing month, more consumers report they are avoiding brand names and buying only the bare necessities. June's BMO Real Financial Progress Index survey found that 42% of Americans are changing how they shop for groceries, with consumers reporting the impact of higher prices of everything on their monthly budgets. However, supply chain issues are not only impacting prices at the grocery store. On Tuesday, a number of U.S. power companies released a report alerting that higher prices for energy are coming as they face supply crunches that hamper their ability to keep the lights on as the nation heads into the heat of summer and the peak hurricane season. Consumer power use is expected to hit all-time highs this summer, which could strain electric grids at a time when federal agencies are warning the weather could trigger rolling blackouts. Power companies are warning of supply constraints for equipment, which could hamper efforts to restore power during outages and push prices even higher. They're also having a hard time rebuilding natural gas stockpiles for next winter, as power generators burn record amounts of gas following the shutdown of dozens of coal plants in recent years and extreme drought cutting hydropower supplies in many western states. At this point, millions of consumers are already rushing to stock up, with some saying they've never been so stressed about empty shelves.
Now, remember, I said it in another lesson prior. I said, wait until the winter for the people who have snow. Didn't I say that? I got your attention now? I told you. Everything Minister Yashab said before. So, hey, people watching this, you can share with other people. I did my part by telling you, by listening to the Most High, by reading the scriptures, by being a watchman, and then telling you prior to it even happening. That's a man of the Most High. The rest is up to you. The rest is up to you, brothers and sisters.
while others believe that what we've gone through so far has been just the start. The cycle of high prices and empty shelves is creating a vicious cycle where many buyers rush to stockpile products at home before they disappear from stores again, a phenomenon that's likely to gain force in the months ahead. In some places, rationing of some food products has already begun. According to the National Herald, some supermarkets have started rationing flour, sunflower oil, sugar, corn, eggs, milk, dairy products, cleaning supplies, and canned goods.
And canned goods. So you make sure every single thing that they mention, you buy every time you go to the store. I'll play it one more time. Everything that they mention, you make sure you get every time you go to the store. I don't care if it's a little or a lot, just get something. I'm gonna play it one more time.
Food products has already begun. According to the National Herald, some supermarkets have started rationing flour,
Flour, sunflower
oil, sugar, corn, eggs, milk,
sugar, corn, eggs, milk,
dairy products, cleaning supplies, and canned goods due to supply problems.
So, hey, cleaning supplies, go ahead and get you some distilled vinegar. Don't be wasting your money on all that $10, $12 bleach, because distilled vinegar does the same exact thing as bleach. It does the same thing. And it kills tons of germs and it keeps bugs away. Same thing. Hey, I told you.
Now, stores will temporarily be allowed to limit the number of goods that can be bought by a client, it reported. So far, most cases of rationing have been concentrated in European countries, but as one could figure it out, it was only a matter of time before it started happening in the United States. This is just another indication that the hour is late and that things are getting really crazy out there. Right now, some parts of the country are still experiencing the calm before the chaos, but it's safe to say that it won't stay that way for long. So use the time you still have left to prepare wisely because things are rapidly spinning out of control out there.
Now it's the last video of the night. I wanted to share those with y'all, brothers and sisters. I know it was a lot, from housing to jobs to crime. You really got a little bit of everything today. And as things get worse, I want you to remember. I want you to remember a few things. James chapter 2. James chapter 2, verse 14. 14 to 26. And I read, what doeth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or a sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doeth it profit? What doeth it profit? Even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. You see what was being said here? Okay, you believe in the Most High, big deal. And Satan knows the Most High exists. The fallen angels know the Most High exists. The evil spirits know the Most High exists. And so what? Show your faith by your. But what wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was his faith made perfect? And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness. And he was called the friend of God. It talks about imputed of sin in the book of Romans, also in the Old Testament as well. Most High will impute, meaning cleanse away the sins of certain individuals whom he chooses. Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. So, brothers and sisters, understand as the time is dwindling for Babylon, have you shown the Most High that you believe him by your actions and not by your mouth, but by your actions? Has your actions said, I'm a believer of the Most High? Likewise, also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers? And that's in the Old Testament, book of Joshua, I believe it is in, and had sent them out another way. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. And I wanted to share this after showing all the videos, because brothers and sisters, we may not all go through the same trials. My trial may not be your trial. Your trial may not be mine. It may be your time to go hungry. It may not be my time. It may be your time to be changed into a lower state. It may not be my time. I tell my wife this. I said, man, the Most High, he is strategic, because my wife and I were homeless for a while. And just before COVID came, the Most High gave us an apartment, because in the homeless shelters, they were wanting everyone to test. And just before the lockdown started, literally, I think it was a week and a half, literally, the Most High said, now go. I know, and I've been homeless and I've been without, all for the glory of the Most High. I've kept my head up. I've stayed strong. Some people are going to have to endure that. And if you do have to endure it, know that I'll be praying for you, as other brothers and sisters will be as well. No, it may not be my time to go through that. It may not be your time to receive help. Because then again, what good is a lesson or what good is a test if you haven't learned the lesson from it? That's what a trial is. A trial is for you to go through something, but yet to learn why the Most High put you through that test, which is the lesson. So if He put you through a test and you never learn, how can He call you yours, His? So, brothers and sisters, hey, endure to the end. I hope that, you take all this knowledge that I share with you and you use it. As we know, knowledge and wisdom and understanding shall be the stability of thy time. I hope it helps you be stable in spirit and in truth. Acts chapter 14. Last scripture. So, scripture that a lot of people fail to acknowledge. Acts 14 and 22 reads, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of God. And I read this because if you've never been through something for the Most High, you're about to. And you must prove yourself to the Most High through this tribulation. At the end of it, either we become martyrs for righteousness' sake, or the Most High will deem you worthy to be gathered for the crowning of Christ. So I love reading that scripture, that Christ will crown us in the book of Second Ezra. So remember in Second Ezra chapter 7, the narrow path. If you can't go through the tough, why should you get the best? And no matter what you go through in these upcoming months, know that the Most High loves you. Know that Christ walked down that road being whipped for you. And now is the time for you and all of us worldwide to return the favor. You're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable. You're going to have to make uncomfortable sacrifices. But you can do it. Stay strong, brothers and sisters, and endure until the end. That being said, I love you all. Keep strong. Keep the faith. Always let your works say, I believe. Sometimes we don't have to talk. Let your works say, I believe. Right. Shalom.